this case is now, I think, already been dismissed, right, Ron? So this has already been filed and done with the date of September 27th in New York.
Ryan Reynolds didn't just distance himself from Blake Lively, he casually shoved her beneath the legal bus, slamming the door closed and waving from the back window, muttering, "Best of luck with that, babe." His attorneys formally submitted a motion to remove him from the Justin Baldoni lawsuit, a blunt translation echoing, "I'm out, let her manage this dumpster fire." This wasn't a slow fade, it was an abrupt, calculated exit, leaving her to grapple with the legal chaos she ignited. The entire situation screamed desperation, a public uncoupling from a rapidly sinking ship. What was supposed to be a united front became a strategic retreat, and the fallout was only just beginning to expose the conniving underbelly of Hollywood's power couple. The silence that followed his departure was deafening, signaling the dramatic collapse of a carefully constructed facade.
Really going to expose Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for the conniving people that they are.
The core of Ryan's defense? Pure chef's kiss pettiness, arguing that calling Baldoni a predator in private conversations falls under the First Amendment, thus isn't defamation. It's simply bold, spicy free speech in action, they claimed. His legal team filed a motion to dismiss Baldoni's complaint, insisting the It Ends With Us director's claims had no merit, as the lawsuit focused on Reynolds allegedly labeling Baldoni as such. Freedom of expression, absolutely, but now legally weaponized to shield himself from the mess. Meanwhile, Blake was left scrambling, inundated with subpoena receipts and mountains of legal paperwork, while Ryan coolly asserted he merely made a comment, never intending to launch the Hunger Games over casual private chatter drama.
Any lawyer will tell you, you do not file a complaint if you don't know the name of the person that you are suing, unless you're trying to protect that person's identity for some reason, which, if you're pissed off enough to sue them, you probably don't care about their identity.
Adding another layer of shade, Ryan's lawyers took aim at content creators, boldly claiming this case should reassure the group of people who've repeatedly labeled Mr. Reynolds and Ms. Lively as bullies. So, noticing Blake acting like the Regina George of Hollywood with a shiny legal degree now means you're part of the problem. Seriously? His defense insisted he has a First Amendment right to express his opinion of Mr. Baldoni, a statement they believed should comfort those who dared to question their perceived untouchable status. This move not only sought to dismantle Baldoni's case, but also to silence any public dissent, pulling innocent observers into their legal battle.
This is such a mistake and impossible and not appropriate and going to get them in trouble. Why would they have done?
But here's the...
Then there's the cringeworthy Nice Pool fiasco, Ryan's obvious Deadpool parody that felt unmistakably like a caricature of Justin Baldoni. The figure in the parody resembled Baldoni, spoke like him, shared an identical history, and then, surprise, was written off. Yet Ryan's attorneys audaciously insisted Baldoni was merely oversensitive to perceive any connection. This blatant provocation, packaged as satire, was another calculated jab, suggesting Ryan's intentions went far beyond casual private chatter. It was Blake striking a match inside a forest and then blaming the breeze for the raging wildfire disaster now unfolding publicly everywhere.
And versus the John Doe's is clearly a Blake Lively lawsuit, but clearly was filed without anybody's actual name to skirt the issue and try to get this more...
And the cherry...
But the true origins of this legal chaos began with a shadowy entity called Vanzan Inc. On September 27th, a company by this name mysteriously appeared filing a lawsuit, whose names were linked, none other than Ryan Reynolds, and wait for it, Blake Reynolds, Blake Lively's legal name. She literally gave herself a corporate villain persona and didn't even bother hiding it. The entire setup screamed amateur hour, a mistake so glaring it defied belief, raising immediate red flags about the true motives behind this sudden legal maneuver.
An abusive process, and we intend to take all action allowable under the law, as you're saying, echoing what you're saying.
The Vanzan Inc. lawsuit was nothing short of a courtroom edition of Mad Libs. It named no actual defendants, relying solely on placeholders like John Doe and Jane Doe. This entirely fake case, with zero real people involved, somehow expected the legal system to take it seriously. It was clearly a Blake Lively lawsuit, filed without actual names to skirt legal scrutiny, and the cherry on top? The lawsuit got dismissed. Its purpose, however, was far more sinister than a simple legal blunder. It was a calculated setup for a much larger, more manipulative game.
Use misinformation and disinformation, which I've kind of started to realize that people love to use that when they just don't have a proper argument that they can articulate.
Why did that dismissed lawsuit even matter? Because 2 days later, a New York Times article dropped, tearing into Baldoni and painting Blake as an innocent princess wronged by Hollywood's villain. Coincidence? Absolutely not. That Vanzan Inc. lawsuit was a subpoena Trojan horse, a full-blown PR stunt disguised in legal paperwork. They cobbled together a fake lawsuit just long enough to serve subpoenas and dig up dirt, turning the legal process into an abusive tool for personal gain. This wasn't about justice. It was a strategically timed hit piece designed to manipulate public perception and control the narrative.
Thing that started this lawsuit and the explosive text messages that were included in the original New York Times article were text messages that were stolen off the phone of Jennifer Abel by her employer named Stephanie.
The most damning evidence of their manipulative intent? The Vanzan Inc. case never even mentioned sexual harassment. This was the dead giveaway. It wasn't about uncovering the truth. It was about getting access to texts they had no right to. This use of misinformation and disinformation, as the source material pointed out, is often a tactic deployed when there's no proper argument to articulate. The lawsuit's true objective was to breach privacy and weaponize personal communications, exposing a pattern of alleged misconduct that transcended standard legal battles.
Being Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, alleged that they issued the subpoena to Stephanie Jones.
This brings us to the full-on fever dream called Subpoena Gate, a section downright illegal if proven. Allegedly, Blake's behind-the-scenes ally, Stephanie Jones, accessed Jennifer A.L.'s phone using Celebrite, a tool normally reserved for criminal investigations, not casual snooping. You don't pull out Celebrite to check texts from your mom. You use it to unlock phones and tackle FBI-level cases. This is serious tech, far beyond any spyware downloaded from an app store, suggesting a level of illicit intent that moved beyond simple PR stunts into felony territory.
Project that she started because of her racism, and I think that's going to her plantation wedding. We know about how she donated this money.
So what did Stephanie Jones allegedly do? She extracted private messages between Jennifer A.L. and Melissa Nathan, two women she just so happened to have personal beef with. And instead of consulting a lawyer, she allegedly forwarded those texts straight to Blake's PR team. This highly unprofessional act, undertaken before any official case was filed, lacked zero legal justification for taking or reading those messages. Nada. Yet, Blake's team allegedly used them as the backbone of the New York Times expose, acting as if it all magically worked in their favor.
The agent that represents Vanzan Inc., which we know about that lawsuit, the sham lawsuit and all of that.
And let's not forget the most absurd part of this whole scheme. When they realized they couldn't legally use the stolen texts, they allegedly tried to retroactively create a subpoena to make it all seem legitimate. That's like robbing a bank and showing up the next day with a forged withdrawal slip. Printing a form doesn't erase the crime. If even half of this is true, we're no longer talking bad PR. We're talking felony territory. Blake Lively could go from red carpet royalty to courtroom disaster in no time, while Ryan was already halfway out the door.
Laundromat extraordinaire, from CPA to cloak and dagger partner, the fixer behind the filing cabinet.
Enter Eric Binder, the guy you call when you need a problem to vanish, ideally into a shadowy LLC with an address straight out of a Wall Street thriller. This man is no ordinary accountant. He's the fixer you see in every scandal drama, except he's real. Binder knows exactly how to bury dirty secrets behind polished resumes and P.O. boxes, acting as an LLC laundryman extraordinaire, a cloaking dagger partner behind the filing cabinet. His presence alone raised red flags taller than Ryan's ego, suggesting deep-seated clandestine operations were at play.
California Civil Rights Department filing dropped, and just as the New York Times ran its Hollywood hit piece, Binder quietly exited stage left and poof, resurfaced as a partner.
Binder's fingerprints were everywhere. He was the registered agent for Vanzan Inc. Yes, that sham lawsuit company. He also managed filings for Maximum Effort, Ryan Reynolds' marketing brand, and Give Lively, Blake's nonprofit side project that honestly seems faker than her shocked face at award shows. This alone should have screamed foul play. When the California Civil Rights Department filing dropped, and just as the New York Times ran its Hollywood hit piece, Binder quietly exited stage left, only to resurface in a new suspiciously timed role.
Management that he just joined in January of this year, but then going back years, he's registered with, he uses the ML management address in New York.
Binder's professional timeline became a tangled web of inconsistencies. He supposedly joined ML Management in January 2025, yet the company claimed he started in 2020. Meanwhile, his previous firm, which he allegedly ran for 15 years, stated he left in February 2025. So which is it? Is he a time traveler? Did he work at two firms in alternate dimensions? Or was someone just manipulating the timeline to tidy up the narrative, desperately trying to obscure the true nature of his involvement and the precise timing of his various affiliations, painting a picture of deliberate obfuscation?
Was the registered agent for Vanzan Inc., the ghost company used to subpoena a private phone under a sham lawsuit and unlawfully, or how he also handled filings for Liz Plank LLC, whose LLC address is the same as Maximum.
The web of deceit expanded geographically. All these shady LLCs, Vanzan Inc., Liz Plank LLC, Vision PR, Maximum Effort, and Give Lively, were linked to a single address, 888 7th Avenue, New York City. This mysterious building might as well have a sign reading "Welcome to the Blake Lively PR Laundromat." And here's the kicker. When you Google Ryan Reynolds and ML Management, there's nothing. No corporate record, no team photo, no job listing, nada. Yet they were filing care of statements, listing him as involved, suggesting a deliberate effort to keep everything off the books, like some underground fight club of shady celebrity damage control.
Who is the registered agent there? Allison Binder. Not the same address, but the same last name. I don't know. Is that a coincidence?
Adding another player to this complex game, Allison Binder surfaced as the registered agent for Colleen Hoover's production company, Heartbones Entertainment, launched in January 2023. Allison, no rookie, is a partner at a top-tier entertainment law firm in Beverly Hills, the kind of place where NDAs get signed faster than you can say damage control. While no public record officially confirms a relationship with Eric, the overlapping timelines, identical last name, and ties to the same Hollywood house of mirrors screamed loudly. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was a glaring piece of a much larger interconnected puzzle.
To the same building, the same place, is part of the same thing, and it's this big nonprofit charity website, but I did not have any ties to Blake Lively that I could find directly. Well, I did some more sleuthing, and we're going to cover.
Colleen Hoover's involvement also predated the lawsuit, deepening the suspicion. While everyone assumed she was simply writing sad love stories and gearing up for her movie release, she might have been embedding herself in a far messier scheme. Ryan's legal arguments, claiming Baldoni was a predator who confessed to crossing boundaries in his younger days due to his addiction to Blornar, read less like collaboration and more like a Hollywood cabal in legal cosplay. Ryan as the quiet mastermind, Blake as the crumbling puppet, and the Binders as the puppet masters behind the curtain.
Our Maximum Effort, Reynolds' prize baby, also lists Binder as its agent along with Give Lively, Blake's pet nonprofit that was a reaction to people calling her out on her racism.
Then came one of the pettiest, most humiliating high school drama on steroids moments. Blake Lively allegedly forced Justin Baldoni to stay locked in a storage closet during the premiere of It Ends With Us in a New York City theater. A TikToker, confirming the existence of the basement and closet, even tried to open it, nearly getting tackled by security but capturing video evidence. The closet in the footage matched Baldoni's own photo from premiere night. The man was basically trapped in a mop closet while Blake waltzed around like she hadn't just humiliated her own director on the biggest night of his career.
Specific movie theater did not have a basement, so this was her argument. So I decided to go to New York City myself and visit the movie theater where the premiere happened, and I can 100% confirm, and I'll include the footage here, that there is a basement in that movie theater and there is in fact a storage closet.
Enter Leslie Sloan, the publicist who makes a fixer look like a Pottery Barn job. This woman, Blake and Ryan's personal spin doctor for years, allegedly pulled stunts during this legal circus that went beyond PR into criminal-adjacent chaos. After Stephanie Jones allegedly hacked Jennifer A.L.'s phone with Celebrite to grab private texts, the next stop was Sloan. Instead of pausing for ethics or legal counsel, Sloan allegedly treated those illegally obtained messages like a Black Friday flyer, springing into action to weave them into a narrative for the New York Times, portraying Blake as Hollywood's suffering saint.
I can confirm, and you guys can as well, based on the photos that Justin Baldoni shared from the night of the premiere, that was the storage closet that he was basically held captive in because Blake Lively didn't want to be in the same room as him.
The entire operation, held together with toothpicks, duct tape, and felony-level manipulation, had a glaring giveaway. The New York Times article dropped on December 21, 2024, just 2 days after the bogus Vanzan Inc. lawsuit was dismissed. 2 days. You're supposed to believe an entire investigative expose magically synced perfectly with Blake's desired narrative? Nah, that's scheduled coordination, not journalism. Blake's California Civil Rights Department complaint was basically a fancy PowerPoint built on illegally obtained evidence, masquerading as a righteous crusade.
This is just kind of a small example of how certain people don't want to reckon with actual factual reality, which has always been something strange.
As this castle of lies crumbled, everyone started running faster than Blake from accountability. Stephanie Jones, the alleged hacker, literally filed paperwork saying, "I ain't paying for shot." You know it's bad when even your alleged co-conspirators bail and drop you like expired mascara. Meanwhile, Wayfair Studios filed strong oppositions to Blake and Ryan's motions to dismiss, and actually won. Imagine getting destroyed in court by the very studio you tried to nuke with a smear campaign. At this point, the only thing falling faster than her case was her influence, exposing the brittle foundation of her public image.
As a partner with no website profile, and it's tucked into a company where even the staff have private LinkedIns with names hidden and profiles that can't.
The desperation continued with Blake's shampoo company, literally asking the court not to expose their private records. I mean, what's next? Her flat iron filing a restraining order? You know you're in deep when your hair care brand is begging for mercy, highlighting the fear of broader exposure beyond the immediate lawsuit. Then the cherry on top, Blake was named one of Time's most influential people. Influential in what? Filing lawsuits to distract from a PR disaster, turning every legal move into an Instagrammable train wreck. If Time updated their criteria to include most creatively destructive, Blake would win in a landslide.
Ryan Reynolds abruptly distanced himself from Blake Lively, completely exiting the lawsuit as if they were total strangers.
So now she stands alone. Ryan's gone, the press is turning, the New York Times is likely getting tossed from the case, and even her nonprofit Give Lively is starting to look like a sarcastic joke. The woman who once strutted down red carpets like she ruled the world is now clutching legal printouts, begging a judge not to open the wrong document. No more fairy dust, no more curated Instagram stories, no more America's sweetheart lighting. Just subpoenas, filing fees, and the very real chance of watching it all collapse in public, while Ryan sips gin on a yacht somewhere. Glad he dipped when he did.